you talk to anyone who, you know, is ever beefing with a best friend, and it's just like, you know, it's sad.
Well, like I said, it's always so great to catch up with you and chat with you. And it looked like you and Carl had a beautiful Thanksgiving. So I have to ask, how are wedding plans going? Are you guys like in full on wedding plan mode right now?
We are. So we hired a wedding planner, which was step one for me, because I was like, the sooner I have a wedding planner, the less I will have to stress out. So we hired a wedding planner, and then we are looking at venues tomorrow and Friday and Saturday. So I'm hoping by next week, hopefully we'll have a decision on a venue and a date. And then after that, you know, hopefully everything falls into place.
Right. Are you have like a time of year that you guys definitely are focusing in on?
We're looking at fall of 2023. So right around a year from now.
Nice. Oh my God. It's really happening. It's all coming together.
Yeah.
I love it.
The way that time flies, it's going to be here before we know it.
It's so true. And I know that you just spent some time with Captain Lee. How was that? It looks like you guys had such a great time.
Yeah, it was so nice. So we had never met Captain Lee in person. Carl FaceTimes with him a bunch, and they, you know, formed that connection around COVID times. So they've been doing that for a couple of years now, but we finally met him in person at BravoCon. And when we were made this plan to go to Florida for Thanksgiving, I was like, hey, you know, we're going to be in Miami. Why don't you see if Captain Lee can meet us for lunch? So we went to lunch with him, and he's just amazing. He's so fun to talk to. And his wife, Marianne, is just awesome. Like, she just has this stellar personality and really easy to talk to. So it was a really great lunch date.
I love that so much.
It was like 4 hours. For like 4 hours.
That's so great. I love it so much. I know I spoke to him recently, and he had nothing but wonderful things to say about Carl and their relationship. So yeah. I think that's so great.
They have a really sweet relationship.
Definitely. So let's talk about Winter House. How did you guys feel about going into the house this season? Were you ever nervous to see Jason or Austen or anybody in the house for that matter?
You know, it's interesting. I wasn't drinking at the time, so it was my first time being on camera, filming without, you know, having the crutch of alcohol. Mm-hmm. So that was, I think, what was a little bit more unique for me personally. I wasn't nervous about seeing Jason, just because we had a pretty good rapport, you know, up until we, you know, showed up. So Austen, I knew that there was a conversation to come, you know, just given all of the history that's happened between us. So I think I was a little bit nervous for that conversation, but Austen and I are also never really awkward around each other. You know, like, even if we do have something that we have to talk about, or if, you know, one of us is mad at the other, we are still able to kind of contain the awkwardness. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I guess it's always interesting with him.
Very. I mean, going back to Jason a little bit, you know, you said that you had a good rapport with him up until then. So it did seem like you were pretty surprised that he had that conversation with you about not making him aware that you were going public with your story. So were you really that surprised?
I was, yeah. You know, I obviously figured he would want to talk about everything that happened between us. But when that's what he decided to talk about, I was surprised because I did make him aware. So when he talks about it going public, what he means is, you know, me sharing it on Summer House with Summer House cameras rolling, right? But the way I shared it on Summer House was with Carl, my best friend, right? And so it was a way that I was comfortable sharing that story on our TV show. Mm-hmm. I made Jason aware of that before filming had even started. I just didn't know exactly at that time, like, how it was going to be shared. Mm-hmm. You know, but whatever, I did tell him. We had an entire conversation about it. He actually was like, yes, you did. That's right. And I'm like, okay, so then what was the whole point of this conversation, right? Because now you're just like making me feel bad about a situation that I already feel bad about, right? Like you're just making it so much worse. And what makes the matters even worse, Christina, is that Jason and I filmed an entire conversation on my couch for Summer House, season 6. That summer, we filmed together. Now, it got cut. It was never used. It was on the chopping block, and they edited it out for whatever reason. How, like, you were physically there while this is being made public. So why are you now coming to me, 9 months later to make me feel guilty for not telling you, like, when I A, had an entire conversation with you, and B, filmed with you. So I don't know. I was very upset by that. I mean, all sorts of things go through your head. Like, why would he do this? Like, there are multiple situations where he now understands, like, he was made aware. Like, why is he doing this right now? I don't know. It really upset me. I was very upset after that conversation. I basically have not spoken to him since, just because I just thought it was a really messed up thing to do. Like, even if you are doing it to have something to talk about or for relevancy, like, don't use my trauma for your relevancy. Like, that's where I draw the line. Like, that is absolutely unacceptable for me. So yeah, that was really upsetting. And I had to change the way I viewed him in my mind, and it's like, here's a situation where I will always and forever think about this miscarriage, and, it will never leave me. So I've always been like, okay, well, at least it happened with a nice guy. At least Jason's a nice guy, and he was just so wonderful. And I just had the most amazing things to say about him, in the dialogue that I chose to use to, whenever I spoke about it. Jason was absolutely wonderful. But now here he's making me feel bad about a situation where I've tried my best to handle it in a very public way, to the best of my ability. And I'm, trying to help women, in case they want that kind of support. And now here he is shaming me about something that I already feel shame about.
Mm-hmm. And something that you already discussed as well.
And something that we discussed multiple times. So I don't know. I was really, really disappointed in that. And I don't know, maybe he just has severe memory loss. And if that's the case, then, I feel bad for him. But
no, it makes a hard situation even more difficult, because thinking that you have somebody in your corner and they kind of turn it around. And like you said, you haven't spoken to him. Did he ever try to reach out and apologize?
No, he actually went on a podcast in June and talked about all of this stuff on that podcast. And I basically texted him and was like, I don't need your permission to talk about my body and what happened to me. And the fact that you went on this podcast and you think that this is acceptable is very sad and fucked up. And he never wrote me back.
Jeez. Oh,
and then he showed up to the Summer House 3 different times.
Oh man, it's gonna be a season then. It's gonna be interesting. I mean, going back to Austen now. I mean, obviously everybody's gonna be talking about this timeline of what happened. So, what really happened at Austen, at Kyle and Amanda's wedding, and why didn't you stay in Carl's room that night?
Okay, so I know this whole situation. So Carl, for whatever reason, he was in a different hotel. Like, you had options of 2 hotels and he chose the other hotel, I think because he had a lot of duties at this wedding. He was officiating, he was a co-best man, and he's sober, right? So I think he wanted to focus, he wanted his privacy. He was at a completely different hotel. The rest of us were at this other hotel. So come wedding night, Carl winds up, we all pack into our rental car, and legitimately, I want to say there was 10 of us, in the trunk, like it was a Jeep. So we were just like everywhere. So he drops us off at our hotel and then he goes to bed. He had a really busy day of officiating. He was exhausted. So I was like, Austen, I'm starving. Can you see if the restaurant downstairs is open? He's like, I'm starving too. Let me check. He's like, no, it's closed. I was like, great. You order McDonald's. I have a bottle of wine in my room. I'll bring it over. So McDonald's comes, I go over. We just sit and we chat about, recapping the wedding. Like, how was it like seeing Sierra? Like, how, just whatever. Like we saw so many different people. And that was it. Then I was like, put a movie on, whatever. So I pretty much passed out immediately. And that's really it. Like it was a very innocent pass out. For anyone who knows me, I sleep very hard, and I just like sleep like a mummy, or like you're burying me or something. Like I pass out and that is it. And then I woke up. He was still sleeping, and I went to my room and packed, left the next day, no problem. Where he gets this other story is just. Like, it feels like he's been doing yoga, right? Because it just feels like such a stretch to me. I'm like, what? I did, huh? Like, I don't even know what you're talking about. So, I mean, I put this in the same category as like the psychic who told us that me and Luke hooked up, right? Like, I'm just like, were you dreaming, Austen? Like, and watching the episode, I'm like, I don't even think he believes his own story. Like, he's just like, yeah, no, we just passed out. And I'm like, watching it, like, what is wrong with you? I don't know. I think Austen, like, this is, to me, it's typical Austen, right? Like, he's, he was blocked. He wanted to bring Olivia. He can't bring Olivia because now Sierra's mad at him again for not respecting her feelings and wanting to, like, parade Olivia in front of Sierra. And so he's trying to get back into good graces with her. But then I show up with Carl and we're like in our honeymoon phase, lovey-dovey. And he's like, I just need a win, And I feel like he just wanted to feel like he had some sort of win in all of this chaos, right? And so he's like, I'll give you guys a little nugget. But it's like, well, what are you even talking about? Like, we ate McDonald's, had like a glass of wine and passed the fuck out. Like, this happened a month and a half ago. Same thing. He came to my birthday at the summer house. We then go to Montauk. That night, we shared a bed together. Nothing happened. We both passed out. End of story. Like, that's just, this whole like dick touching situation is just like not even my style. Like,
it does seem like he kind of like regretted it after he said it, and it kind of snowballed into this whole big thing. Did it put a strain on your relationship with Carl at the time? Did he kind of
No, because like, I mean, listen, first of all, Carl knew that I passed out in Austen's room. I told him. He knew about it. It's not like, but I also am a very like open and honest person, and especially with my sexuality. And I always have been. On Summer House, I've just been a very sex positive. Like, well, this is what I did. So yeah, Carl, like, he knows I would have told him, like, hey, this happened, but I never had to say that because it never happened. So yeah. And I just like, I'm not going to be embarrassed by something that just never happened because, and it's like, and it's, the whole timeline conversation. I'm like, guys, neither Carl nor I went around saying we were giving it a go. Like, that was Maya. Like, Maya was like, oh, word on the street is Lindsay and Carl are giving it a go. And everyone was talking about it, I guess. They weren't talking to me about it. I wasn't talking about it. Everyone else was. So I'm like, guys, if you like go watch the footage, literally Carl and I had a conversation where I'm like, hey, I'm developing feelings for you. Hey, I'm developing feelings for you. All right, what do we do about it? I don't know. We don't know what to do about it. Okay, great. Like, that's basically the conversation that we had. So, whatever. Like, it's just like, I'm just so used to this point, like people talking about me and talking about my sexuality, whether it's true or false. It just is, I guess, comes with the territory of being Lindsay Hubbard.
I guess so. Where do you and Austen stand today? Are you guys friends at all? I mean, obviously, probably not as close as you.
I mean, we're friendly. We obviously don't have the same kind of relationship that we used to have when we were single and we were buddies. Or even when we were single and flirting. Like, we don't talk often. But we talk every now and then. I wound up texting him last week and I was like, are we going to fight again? Because like, if this is going to be another year-long public fight, like, it's going to be exhausting and I just cannot spend the energy on this one.
Totally. We're like, we're going to put this one behind us.
Yeah.
Well, earlier this month, I know that you spoke about Amanda and what she had to say on Watch What Happens Live. Have the two of you spoken since then? Has she apologized? Have you repaired that friendship at all?
No, we haven't spoken, but it's not necessarily abnormal for us to not speak, right? Like, she's not much of like, hey, let me call up Lindsay and apologize. Obviously, it was a hurtful comment. I don't believe it to be true. And I took to my Instagram and defended my point of view. And then I left it at that, right? I think that's sort of, it's the name of the game, when Andy's playing games on Watch What Happens Live and you're like, all right, well, I don't believe that, and let me show you why. And then that was it.
Yeah. Do you blame her for what she said, or do you just kind of not blame Andy because he's like playing the games, but do you think that like he kind of egged her on a little bit? I just know how many things I've done on behalf, in a very public way, on behalf of, Loverboy, and like, for me, it was just more of a situation like, well, you're not even acknowledging all the times that I was in front of fans, to support you and your company, and then you're saying something like that is really hurtful. Yeah. So that was sort of where I was coming from. But listen, I have like, an ability to find closure about things and situations on my own. And I did that, and like, I don't necessarily expect an apology from Amanda, because I just know that it's probably not going to come. Right. If you guys were in the room together, you think everything would be fine?
I mean, I'm never one to like, be super awkward with people. Like, I'll say hi, hello, how are you? And that's just my personality. But yeah, I mean, I think there's so many times that, she's done things to me that like we've sort of just like brushed under the rug, and then we were fine, a couple weeks later. So I'm just expecting that.
Yeah. I know everybody is like so ready for Summer House to air. Can't wait to see what happens. But I know a lot of people are so interested in your friendship with Danielle. I know that you spoke to me about it, and, obviously can't say too much because we're going to see what happens. But have things gotten any better since BravoCon at all? I
mean, nothing's changed since I saw you and talked to you at BravoCon. So, I mean, I can't really give any updates at this point, just because nothing's really changed. I mean, BravoCon was only like a month and a half ago. Mm. So, and I've just been focused, like trying to like put my head down and, get this wedding off the ground, and, throw in a holiday or two in between, and, traveling and trips. So yeah, nothing, there's no update.
Yeah. Is it still sad though?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it will be, right? Like, you talk to anyone who, is ever beefing with a best friend, and it's just like, it's sad.
Right. Are you hoping by the time the wedding comes around, you two can kind of patch things up? Because I'm sure it'd be hard to imagine your wedding without her being there.
I mean, we'll see, right? We have a lot of time between then and now. And, the way, as we know on Bravo and in this world, like, a million things can happen between now and then.
True. Very true. You said before, like on Winter House, this was the first time that you were sober going into a filming experience. Are you still sober now? And did you maintain that through Summer House as well?
No, no. Oh my gosh. Summertime is just like my summer, right? It's like, it's always been like my birthday and like I'm a Leo and I love, I was from Florida. So summertime is like really, my playtime. So yeah, I've been drinking. I think it was like in April is when I started. April or May. It was, I had taken a trip, speaking of Danielle and I had gone to LA to film a Marshall's commercial. And it was my first trip where I'm like, away from Carl and I'm with, my girlfriend and, you just sort of want to like catch up and, enjoy your trip together and have some wine or cocktails, whatever the case is. So I started drinking then and I still drink now. And I mean, it's a constant, evolving conversation, like what makes Carl comfortable within his sobriety and, and what makes me comfortable, like having, my lifestyle to where I don't, necessarily need to completely change my lifestyle to, for him, but also support him. So I think that, his sobriety has always been a priority to me and like, trying to compromise, my alcohol intake, or maybe it's like, maybe I'll catch up with the girls over a bottle of wine out instead of them coming to the apartment and, to where it's in his space sort of deal. So it's just stuff like that, I think is normal. I think that compromise is a part of every relationship. We just have an added layer of, his sobriety to make a priority.
Definitely. I saw in your photos when you were in Thanksgiving, you met up with family that had, babies and things like that. I'm sure you guys get this question all the time, but are you getting like super baby fever?
I mean, I think I've always had baby fever, but yeah, and I think this is also why I would rather get married in 2023, because I'm just like ready to start that process, and not necessarily, because of a biological clock, right? Like I've already figured that portion out for myself. I already have eggs on ice. I don't have pressure in that way, but you still have other pressures. Like when it's a lot harder on the female body, the older that I am, having kids, or, I don't want to be 70 years old running around, chasing toddlers. So yeah, I would like to get the process started. If I'm hoping for, 2 kids, I would like to have them maybe before 40, but listen, I will take whatever I can get.
Mm-hmm, definitely. What did you think of the comparisons to you and Jessica this season?
Listen, I think it's a compliment. I also walked in and I was like, whoa, she looks, at first glance, you are like, whoa, this is like creepy. Like, we looks very similar. Even watching this week's episode, I was like, is that me or is that Jessica? I think it's a compliment to be compared to me, but I also have like a lot of self-confidence and don't really care if she doesn't think that, right? Like, I also think personality adds a lot to someone's looks. So maybe she should consider that.
Definitely. And then finally, I know there's all these rumors going around that Luke and Ashley Darby are dating. Are you totally for that relationship?
I mean, I am for whatever makes both of them happy and comfortable. I know that she has a lot going on, that she has still to figure out within, her last relationship. So listen, as long as both of them are happy and they are having fun, then really, that's all that matters. But yeah, I mean, if Luke wants to go for it, if it makes him, excited and feel all the feels, then, I'm right there rooting him on.
I'm here for it. I just want that. I want that, that TikTok. Well, I know you guys did that TikTok video together. So
yeah, she loves TikToks. And we're We're at the oh my God, we were at the Commanders game and in a suite, and she was like, we have to do this TikTok. And I'm like, I don't even know the dance.
Did you see like good chemistry between the two of them though?
Yeah, they were really, really cute. They were holding hands, and he had his arm around her and on the small of her back. And Luke's always just been very, sweet with a love interest, but I haven't really seen him with many of them. But from what I saw from him and Ashley, he was really sweet with her.
For more news content and exclusive interviews, make sure to hit the sub, like, and bell button down below and visit usmagazine.com.